Welcome to A Quest for Metal. Today we're talking about comeback albums. Now, what do we mean by a comeback album? There's a couple of different ways we can interpret this. The first is that they've been on a long hiatus. They've been gone for many years, and then they've come back with a release which is just astounding. The other is they've been kind of going downhill. In recent years. Then they release an album which brings them back into the starlight, makes them more popular. People start raving about the new album. They're like, holy shit, where have these guys been for the past couple of albums? So yeah, I'm just going to give you a list, top 10 best comeback albums from metal. Let's get started. First up on the list, Nocturne AD with Paradox. This cosmic entity of death metal meets synthy keyboards and shit was so unique back in 1990. This mix of cosmic death metal with synthy keyboards and stuff, which was never really seen in death metal until these guys did it. It was so unique back in 1990. The Key, which is a fucking monolithic album. I love The Key. If you have never checked it out or heard of these guys, go listen to that album right now. From then onwards, they were split and they formed a new band, and then Nocturnus kind of created Nocturne AD. There's a couple of demos, a couple of compilations, but no real full-length release until the Paradox, which was 2019. That's last year. And that's a massive stretch. So this is a comeback album and a fucking half. And it retains the same quality as The Key. It has the same kind of cosmic death metal sound you liked from that album. And it just keeps it intact. There's no extra bells and whistles. It's all perfect cosmic death metal, which you know and love from the old Nocturnus. So yeah, definitely making it onto the list because I love the album, and Paradox was a really fucking cool album as well. So definitely making it onto my list. Number 9, Candlemas, one of the best doom metal bands of all time. They released The Door to Doom, and sure, this band has been releasing constant albums, loads of lineup changes though, which is the one I'm going to talk about today. The Door to Doom has the original vocalist, back from the very first fucking album, back from Epicus Doomicus Metallicus, which was 1986, with Johan on the vocals. This is the first time since then, but it's not just that, it's not just for the vocalist or anything like that. It's the first album that got them Grammy nominations when some other big bands didn't. It was super well received, and compared to the last couple of Candlemas albums, which were good, this one, it was a great comeback album. It had the original vocalist back. It fucking got all those nominations. It doesn't matter if you say it's mainstream or not. Who cares? And it was just a fantastic release compared to a lot of the other kind of standard-esque Candlemas releases. But this one, yeah, really fucking good album. And it seems like 2019 was just a year for comeback albums, because there's another coming up soon. Number 8, talking about Doom, Death Doom, fucking Autopsy, amazing band. I love all the artworks as well. Mental Funerals, one of my favourite death metal albums of all time. I love that album. And then they released Shit Fun, and that album cover, I'm not even going to show it. It's just picture it in your head. Picture what that would entail. Shit Fun. Yeah. From then on, there's a massive fucking gap. They came back with Macabre Eternal. 1995 to 2011. Now, that's a big fucking gap. But this album, as awesome as the fucking album art is, the music matches. The music matches exactly what you want, and all the songs are quite fucking long, which I also enjoy in Death Doom. It's just a beautiful album. It's a beautiful album, and it definitely makes up for the shit that was Shit Fun. Number 7, I told you we'd be back with an album that came out in 2019, and it's Possessed, the pioneers of death metal as we know them. You can argue, Possessed or Death. In my opinion, I don't care. Death's always the king for me, but Possessed is more like a thrashy to me, but they are fucking awesome. I love them, and the first album was a fucking classic, a bona fide classic. I've seen them live as well, it was sick. But then they came out with this, and it's just as thrashy, just as heavy, just as fucking awesome as the original. 1985. Yeah? 1985, 2019. Talk about a fucking gap. That's a big one. Oh, that's a big one. Someone could put that out of context, but... Yeah, Possessed, the latest album. 2 thumbs up. Number 6, Trivium. I bet you're like, what? They've always been releasing albums. Yes, that's correct. But the last 2 were shit. Silence in the Snow, Vengeance Falls. Nah. It kind of made me go off Trivium. I was kind of like, I'm done. And then Sin in the Sentence came out. And it was so fucking good. Like, inconsistent as hell. But the Sin in the Sentence was just an amazing album. Like, the riffs were there. The catchiness was back. The heaviness was back. Just everything was back from, like, old Trivium. And gotta give it credit. It got me back into the band. And the singles that I'm hearing from the newer one sound awesome as well. So I'm glad these guys are back. I'm glad this is making the list. Because I love Ascendancy. I love Shogun. Ember to Inferno is awesome as well. Like, I love all these albums. And then it just went fucking downhill. But now, it's right back up. So very pleased that Trivium is making this list. Number 5, Carcass. Surgical Steel. Another one where there's a big gap. And what they released with Surgical Steel is fucking sick. Just as sick as the old albums. Probably better than some of them. I'd say probably fucking better than some. I don't think it's better than Heartwork, but it's better than some of the others, in my opinion. And yeah, Surgical Steel is such a great album. And I'm not the only one. You'll probably find this at the top of people's lists, and for good reason. It is just one of the best comeback albums. It just is. It's just a fact. And these guys continue to make awesome melodic death metal to this day. Number 4, this is like a cheating one, I guess. Demons and Wizards, Free, came out this year. There was a big gap between albums. Big gap. 2005 to 2019. You know, I mean, not quite as big as some of the others, but still. What's that, like 14 years? That's a massive amount of time. That's a massive amount of time. And to make an album just as fucking good as the other 2. These guys are geniuses. Absolute geniuses. And it was my favourite album of, I think, February. Favourite album of February, one of my favourites of the year so far, so I'm going to have to put it on the list. Every song was amazing. Every song, the solos were amazing. The long epics were just fantastical and just magical. Every fucking thing is sick on this album. I love his vocals. They're getting better and better. John Schaefer's guitar work is getting better and better. Catchy as hell. This album floored me. One of my favourites of the year, so I'm going to throw it on the list. Number 3, another one which came out last year, and people are probably going to shout at me for this one. Tool, Fear Inoculum. We've been waiting a long time for this. A lot of people were disappointed. I was kind of disappointed. I enjoyed it. I was kind of disappointed. It wasn't as, like, thrashy, as punchy as Anima, or, you know, Undertow and stuff, which I really love. I love that kind of side of Tool. But on re-listening and re-listening and re-listening, it's like a 10 out of 10. Now, take this with a grain of salt. I'm a Tool fan, and they are known for being fucking pretentious assholes. So this is probably not going to be on anyone else's list, but I adore every single fucking song on this album. Even the one song that was kind of like meh on, Invincible, I now can't get the riffs out of my head. When Maynard's doing like that fucking groove on stage. This album's flawless, in my opinion. Flawless fucking album, so even though I didn't like it at first, it's grown to be, like, one of my favourite albums. So, as a personal list, it's making it on. Maybe it doesn't deserve to be as high as some of the other classics that we're talking about, but it's my fucking list, and Tool's one of my favourite bands of all time, so, you know, grain of salt, this is where it's going. Number 2, At the Gates. You know what it's going to be. At War with Reality. Holy shit. After a massive gap, like most of the bands on this list, they fucking released this. This is melodic as hell. One of the best At the Gates albums. I'm in the minority. I really love As We Drink for the Night itself, I really love that. I think that's my favourite Out the Gates album, which is weird. Usually people say Slaughter the Soul, War of Reality, or the fucking Red Light Sky is Ours, or whatever the fuck it's called. But no, the newest one's my favourite, but War of Reality is like a fucking amazing 10 out of 10 album. From 1995 to 2014, another massive gap in recording, and then they come back with this. And then follow it up with that? Come on, it's perfect. I love it. It's got so many catchy fucking songs on. It's one of my favourite melodic death metal albums, and it has to make it onto the list quite high because it's At the Gates and they don't make bad albums. Number 1, it was always going to be this. It's probably one of my favourite albums of all time. The Mighty Maiden, Bruce Dickinson's back in the band with Brave New World. So fucking good. This album is so good. Like, I like Fear of the Dark. I like No Prayer for the Dying. Virtual and X Factor, I like as well. Not as good as any of the other fucking albums, but they're still enjoyable albums. But Brave New World is like fucking a masterpiece compared to those. It's a masterpiece. The proggy nature of all the songs, which I love, because I love like Ram the Ancient Mariner, Alexander the Great, songs like that. Stuff like The Nomad, Dream of Mirrors, fucking Thin Line Between Love and Hate, all these amazing songs, Out of the Silent Planet, Ghost of the Navigator, The Wicker Man. It's a flawless 10 out of 10 album, in my opinion. It's my favourite Maiden album of all time, which is weird, and it's the best comeback album of all time. Bruce back in the band, blows them up back to being the best metal band of all time. And he does. On this album, he does. And it shows why they sell out stadiums to this day, because of all the live shows on like The Wicker Man and Brave New World and stuff. Come on. Rock in Rio, come on. Brave New World is the best comeback album of all time, in my opinion. Hopefully you had some fun with this list. Let me know in the comments below your favourite comeback album of all time. What did you think of my list? What would you change? What would you place higher? Probably not Tool. I feel like some people will be like, why the fuck is that there? But hey, it's all fun. So let me know what you guys thought, and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.